Good evening, everyone. This is Dave Weber again, and as to remind you, I am running as a candidate for President of the United States. You can find information for me under Friends of Dave Weber for America. This is my third video I've done, and you'll have to bear with me tonight because I'm going to be referring to some notes that I made earlier just to make sure that I get all the information accurately. I don't have it all in my head just yet, okay? But there are two topics I wanted to cover tonight. The first is gun control, or lack of gun control. Death by firearms is the second leading cause of deaths in the United States behind motor vehicle accidents, according to the 2013 Center for Disease Control figures. The USA is by far the leader among any other countries in the world in terms of these kind of shootings, as we just experienced yesterday in Oregon. Yet our leaders in Washington have done nothing to change this. So with a Congress more concerned with party politics than its people, that's not liable to change unless we, the people, do something about it. I want to move on to some statistics and some policies that were tried. And again, bear with me because there's a lot of information here I want to get through in a short time. One of the legislation is coming out here very soon by a Connecticut senator, Democratic senator, to try to close a loophole called default to proceed. And why it is taking so long for someone to do this is the question that I have. By the way, Connecticut is one of the states that bans the sale of weapons or guns under the Default to Proceed Act. What this is not an act, but it's a loophole. It allows gun sales to people if the FBI does not say it's illegal within 72 hours. The gunman in the church massacre in Charleston, South Carolina, purchased one gun by using this loophole. The FBI did not complete a background check for this man in time because a clerical error concealed his arrest for drug possession in February. Another federal agency that needs some overhauling, I would say. In 2012, Default to Proceed sales allowed 3,722 people with criminal records or mental health issues who would have been barred from buying guns to purchase them. 2,500 in 2014. This is per the Law Center to Prevent Gun Violence. Excuse me. Again, the question begs, why hasn't someone in our wonderful government done something to close this loophole a long time ago? We have officials who are running for president who haven't done anything about it. Bernie Sanders, Hillary Clinton. What about Jeb Bush? What about all the other guys running who are politicians? Nobody's done anything to close this loophole. How many people of these people, how many have been actually the people have been shooting people in churches and in movie theaters and in schools and even a federal building? Is this a loophole going to make a significant difference? I don't know. But why didn't somebody do something about it long before this? I'll give you a couple statistics. The number one gun seller in America, Walmart, believe it or not, does not allow default to proceed sales. However, Cabela's, Easy Pawn, and Bass Pro Shop refuse to change their policies. Private, unlicensed gun sales, like at gun shows, do not require background checks. How crazy is that? I know. On the spot sale, take it with you. Why are we allowing that to happen in view of what's going on in this country? Of course, any such bill will be tough to get through, trying to close this loophole, because the Republicans control both houses of Congress, and they refuse to do anything about anything to do with gun control. Okay? Congress prohibited lawsuits against gun dealers and manufacturers in the Protection of Lawful Commerce in Arms Act in 2005. But the federal government can sue a state for lax regulations of federally assisted activity that had a racially disparate impact. Now, some people say, well, we'll get the guns anyway. Sometimes, but we can make it harder. In 2006, New York City settled lawsuits against 27 gun dealers who were videotaped selling guns to undercover cops. As part of a settlement, a special master was appointed to monitor the stores and ensure safeguards against illegal sales, and make sure the safeguards were in place. A later study of 10 of these gun dealers over a one-year period showed the number of guns sold at these stores and then discovered at crime scenes had dropped by 80%. Now that's significant. Violation, one thing the president could have done, which he didn't do, and I don't know why, except he probably figured he wouldn't get it through Congress, but I believe he can do it as an executive order. There's a Title VI of the Civil Rights Act, and it's a violation of Title VI, such lax methods of state law enforcement, which is funded partially by the federal government, and therefore subject to that law, have the effect, if not the intent, of discriminating on the basis of race. Now, the Justice Department just has to show the effect of disparate impact on minorities. Per the 2010 study by Mayors Against Illegal Guns, the gun permissive states of Indiana, Mississippi, West Virginia, Kentucky, Alabama, and Virginia export, respectively, 31, 50, 46, 34, 33, and 32 crime guns per 1,000 residents. In contrast, California and New York, who have two of the tougher gun laws in the country, export approximately 5 and 2 crime guns per 100,000 residents, respectively. So where do these guns end up? In minority neighborhoods in the big cities. So gun-related deaths for blacks also are twice what they are for whites. So what do we do? Nothing? I think there's something that can be done. I think we all know that the NRA is not going to allow us to pass any kind of legislation limiting people buying guns. It's an amendment to the Constitution that is the Second Amendment, which is very strongly protected by the NRA. I don't disagree with the amendment. I think certain things can be changed, like the multiple rounds that can be shot by a particular weapon. I think they could be, maybe that could be amended. But I think the biggest thing we need to do a better job of is the background checks and making sure that the guns don't get in the hands of known criminals or people with mental illnesses. Now, you're not going to do much about the crimes in the big cities, I'm sorry. it's going to be there because criminals are going to find a way to get guns. But the shootings that we have in schools and in shopping centers and the things like happened in Oregon yesterday in Roseburg are horrific because they can be prevented. They should have been prevented long ago if we had just done our homework on the federal level, and if we had protected our citizens by not allowing these guns to get in the hands of people that shouldn't have them. These are the people that are committing these crimes, not the regular criminals. They're people with mental illnesses for the most part, and maybe they've had some drug activity or whatever. These are easily detectable if you do a proper background search, and if you don't have clerical errors. You know, we need to clean that up. Something has to be done about that. People are dying. People are dying because the government is not doing their job. It's the government's responsibility to protect the citizens of the United States, not regulate them. You know, there are regulations that have to be in place, but the regulations are to protect us. Well, they're there, but we don't use them, and we don't enforce them. And that's the problem with Washington. Washington is too caught up in bipartisan politics, arguing over which party said this and which party is going to get that. You've got a Republican Congress and a Democratic president, and nothing's going to get done. And people are dying. This has to go away, and it has to go away now. And that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. The second subject I want to talk about is illegal immigration. The U.S. Department of Homeland Security, estimates that 11.4 million unauthorized immigrants, they call them, lived in the United States in January of 2012. The number peaked to 12 million in 2007 and has declined 67% to 2009 annually. There are several, 2 or 3 different research centers that are pretty close. One says 11.3 million, one says 11 million, another one says between 11 and 12 million. The number is pretty accurate. Something that Donald Trump actually got right. And by the way, you want to talk about Donald Trump. I don't know if anybody heard his pronouncement that today or yesterday, that if his numbers started to slip, if he started to tank in the polls, he would just drop out and go back to work. Sure, why not? What does he care? He doesn't care about you or me. Why is he doing this? His ego, number one, and the publicity will be great for business. Oh, and if he happens to win, man, his ego is really fed. But he won't win. There's no chance of Donald Trump winning. His ideas are unrealistic, and his method of insulting and demanding and saying wild things like we're going to build a wall and we're going to deport every one of them are what America seems to want to hear, but it won't stick. It just won't stick, and he knows it, and he's starting to realize it. But the one thing he did get right, at least, was how many illegal immigrants there are. No surprise here that 52% were from Mexico, 26% from other Latin American countries, mostly Central America, 12% from Asia, 5% from Europe and Canada, and 3% from everybody else. So almost 80% from the southern borders. Finally, again, one thing that he had right. 49% of those people have not finished high school, compared to only 9% for native-born Americans and 25% for legal immigrants. Now, we knew that. We already knew that, I think. The more recent illegal immigrants, however, have been more educated, some with college degrees, but we're talking about overall 49% of the ones that are here. Now, per National Public Radio, 33% of illegal immigrants work in service industries, 16% construction type occupations, 17% in production, installation, and repair. And obviously, one of the reasons that they're getting these jobs is the employers are willing to pay them, or they will take less money per hour, and the employers are willing to do that. Just another quick statistic: the top 5 states in the country with a number of illegal immigrants. California has over 2,900,000, about 25% of the total. Texas about 1,000,006, which is 14%. Florida 980,000, which is about 8%. And surprisingly, Illinois and New York are close at 550 and 540,000 respectively. Now, legal and illegal immigration, total immigration, peaked in 2003, and from 2003 to 2012, immigration from Mexico decreased 57%. That was caused by lower birth rates, and the growing economy in Mexico slowed this immigration. The dean of the College of Public Policy at the University of Texas at San Antonio said Mexican immigrants are no longer coming to find jobs, but to flee from violence, noting the majority of those escaping crime are far more likely to be naturalized U.S. citizens. One of the issues brought up by the Republicans: 4 million U.S.-born children of illegal immigrants lived here in 2000, as of 2009, or what they refer to as anchor babies. Most of these children do fail to graduate from high school because they find that they have to go out and get jobs and contribute to the income in the household. Donald Trump wants to deport all 11.3 million immigrants and anchor babies. Under the Obama administration, by the way, as many people were deported in his first 4 years as were deported during the entire 8-year George W. Bush administration. So do we really need another Republican in the White House again? To me, the logical thing is to ramp up our security at our borders, try to isolate the 11.3 million and find out who really is being productive, paying taxes. $7 billion per year is being paid in by illegal immigrants to Social Security. So to just deport everybody doesn't make sense. First of all, it's costly, and secondly, you may actually be deporting people who are contributing to the economy. Tracking needs to be improved. Our borders, obviously, we talked about. We've got to protect them better. And are the procedures for deportation too complicated? Why can't we deport somebody when they show up at the border and they just don't? Why can't we just send them home? I think we do, but people sneak in. I believe that the Yucatan province in Mexico actually tells people how to illegally get into the United States. They have a brochure they actually give people. So something has to be done about that, obviously, and we haven't been effective in doing anything about it from Washington. Crime figures conflict. There's not necessarily a difference in the crime rate in areas that the illegal immigrants are found in the highest numbers. That kind of kills Trump's allegation that all they're doing is sending their drug lords and their criminals over. One of the problems with illegal immigration, and it is an issue that we need to address, is that when disasters occur, such as a hurricane along the Gulf Coast, for instance, the emergency management procedures are difficult to follow and to plan for, because you really don't know how many people are out there. Many people are out there as illegals you don't know are there, but you're just going to let them die? You can't do that. So that makes that difficult to keep track of. The taxes that illegal immigrants pay, there's not really an offset to the cost of the social services that they cause, the cost that we have to pay for them being here, the sewer and water and all that stuff. They do get paid lower wages. A surprising thing to me was a listing of the sanctuary cities. Washington, D.C. How about that, huh? New York City. There's no surprise. L.A. Chicago. Oh, wow. Seattle, San Francisco, San Diego, Austin, Texas, Salt Lake City, Dallas, Detroit, Honolulu, Houston, Jersey City, Minneapolis, Miami, Denver, Aurora, also in Colorado, Baltimore, Senef, Missouri, and Portland, Oregon, and Portland, Maine. So one of these things we could do is look to these sanctuary cities for many of these illegal immigrants and find out what's going on and what are they doing, and do we need to deport them? Do we need to break up families and send the parents back and leave the kids here? Now who's going to take care of them? That's going to be you and me. So illegal immigration and immigration as a whole is not going to end. It's something that's going to continue. And now we're talking about refugees coming from Syria, and it's going to keep coming. So there's not very much you can do to stop it. You can slow it, you can control it, and that's what we need to do. And then we need to make sure that the people that do come in, whether they come in illegally and we catch them, or they've been here by a legal visa and the visa's expired and we need to find out where they are, we just need to do something with those folks and make sure that they are contributing to society and not causing crimes and not doing things that we don't want them to do, or not being productive. And do background checks. And if they are committing crimes, those people need to go right away. Period. No question. And the children too, probably. Because there's no sense in leaving the children behind without their parents. The next thing we're going to talk about on my next video, one of the things, is climate change. Because climate change has a lot to do with what we've been talking about tonight, about illegal immigration and the refugees. Thanks again for your attention. Thank all of you. And again, God bless America.